Imagine waking up to the sound of chains rattling outside your own garage. You peek through the blinds and see a tow truck in your driveway, engine idling. 2 HOA board members are standing there, pointing at your truck parked safely inside your garage. One of them says, "You're in violation. We're towing it." That's when I realized they weren't just enforcing rules. They were trying to take what was mine, but they had no idea who they were dealing with. I had cameras, evidence, and the sheriff on speed dial. Subscribe for more stories like this, and comment your country so we know where our family is growing. That Saturday morning started like any other. I was tuning my truck's carburetor when I heard the scraping of metal. My heart froze. I walked to the small window in my garage and saw a tow truck backed up against my driveway. Winch hooked under the garage door. Mrs. Lambert and her husband, Greg, HOA board members, stood there, proud as if they owned the place. I rushed outside, still half asleep. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted. Mrs. Lambert didn't flinch. "You've been warned," she said coldly. "No commercial vehicles allowed." Right? I raised my voice. "This isn't commercial. It's my personal truck, registered, insured, parked inside my private garage." Greg stepped forward, smug. "Garage or not, HOA rules apply," he said. That was the moment I realized how far their arrogance would go. I turned to the towdriver.com, but firm. "You're trespassing. You touch that truck, and you'll regret it." Then, without another word, I pressed the garage door button. It came down, sealing them out from behind the door. Their voices shouted in frustration. Mrs. Lambert screamed, "You can't lock an HOA representative out." I laughed quietly. "Watch me," I whispered to myself. I grabbed my phone and called the sheriff. The dispatcher listened and said, "Sir, this is a private residence. Stay inside. We're sending deputies." Outside, the shouting continued, but the tow driver now looked nervous, pacing. Within minutes, flashing lights lit the street. Deputy Harris stepped out calmly. "What's going on here?" Mrs. Lambert spoke first, waving her clipboard. "He's violating HOA code, parking a commercial truck." The deputy turned to me. "Is that true?" "No, sir," I said. "It's my personal vehicle, parked inside my garage." They tried to tow it illegally. Harris crouched, inspecting the metal where the tow hook had scratched the door. He looked at the driver. "Did you have a work order?" The driver hesitated. "They said it was HOA property," he muttered. Harris straightened, tone sharp. "This is private property. Touch that winch again, and it's a trespassing charge." Mrs. Lambert's face went pale. "We're just enforcing rules," she stammered. "You've overstepped your authority," Harris said flatly. "HOAs govern community property, not private garages." Greg waved a rule book like it mattered. Harris cut him off. "You're lucky he isn't pressing charges. If I were him, you'd both be taking a ride in that tow truck." Frozen, they watched as the driver unhooked the cable and muttered an apology. I stood in my driveway, arms crossed, as they packed up and left. My camera blinked red, capturing everything. That night, I posted the footage to the neighborhood forum. Within hours, the story spread. Turns out, I wasn't the first target. The HOA had been bullying homeowners for years. Fake violations, intimidation, fines. A week later, Mrs. Lambert and Greg resigned. New leadership was elected. And one of the first changes made was a clause forbidding HOA members from entering private property without consent. Justice. Finally, now, every time I step into that garage, I see the small scratch where their hook left a mark. I didn't fix it. It's a reminder of that morning and of what happens when you stand your ground. I still see Deputy Harris sometimes, and we nod like old friends. People ask why I made such a big deal, but silence lets power grow. Stand once, and you stop being pushed forever. If you face people who think they're above the law, remember this: calm beats chaos. Proof beats pride. And sometimes the quietest man in the room delivers the loudest justice.